Welcome everyone, good morning, and thank you very much everyone for coming, for attending this scientific event in honor of Jean-Daniel Boissonnat, entitled New Horizons in Computational Geometry and Topology. We are going to give you a few words of introduction. I'm together with Frédéric Cazals, Frédéric Chazal, and then we will also call Franco Preparata on the scene, on the desk. Yes, the microphone is plugged, yes. Maybe it has to be a little bit louder, yes. Okay, so thank you all. We are going to have some people also attending, the local people attending during these 2 days. We will be 2 days together. The first few words we would like to say at the beginning of this event, we would like to say a few words about how did we know the four of us, Jean-Daniel. So just want to mention a few dates. We start by Frédéric.
Yeah, the oldest one. So I met Jean-Daniel already almost 30 years back, which I have a hard time to believe. So last century, we used to study, within DEA, Diplôme d'études approfondies, so which are now master programs. And so I attended this master program in Paris, whose name used to be Informatique, Mathématiques et Applications. So it was a subtle mix between the foundations, mathematical foundations of computer science and a number of specific topics, including geometry. And so Jean-Daniel was delivering a class with Mariette, who's sitting somewhere. Where is Mariette? Yeah, good. And so in computational geometry. And then I did my PhD with Claude Puech, who's going to arrive soon, I guess. And after the PhD thesis, I came here for a postdoc. So this was early 98 in the project team PRISM. And then I got a position, so right away. And then I started to learn for good computational geometry because, of course, the master program was a bit short to get an in-depth understanding of these number of subtle issues. And then, of course, I started to collaborate with Jean-Daniel, and so we have some intensive years working in particular on reconstruction, surface reconstruction from point clouds, unorganized point clouds. And so you have here an illustration, a challenging case we used to work on in order to, I hope you will appreciate the difficulty of the reconstruction, because if you look at, in fact, this complex topology here on these tiny parts of the vase, in fact, the sampling density is very sparse. Okay, and we also had a number of complementary activities, and so as you all know, Jean-Daniel is into geometry, curves and surfaces, and so we used to also trace graceful curves. So this is an outing near Isola 2000 on one day when we went to go around Mount Malenvern, so etc. Okay, that was it.
Yeah, so I'm Pierre Alliez. So in fact, the first time I met Jean-Daniel was the day I was an intern. I also did a DEA here locally. It was named Aravis, Automatic Robotic Algorithmic Vision, Image and Signal. And I did an internship with Olivier Deviller on predicates for the Cigar library. And he was in the PRISM project team. And that was a great experience for me. My first contact with the geometric computing. And then I did a PhD together with Francis Schmidt, Telecom Paritech and Orange in Rennes. And then I came back and I was then a postdoc in Los Angeles at USC together with Mathieu Desbrun. And then I applied as a researcher in the PRISM project team. And I became a member of the PRISM project team, which then became Geometrica project team later on. And there I proposed a program on geometry processing, okay? Slightly different from geometric computing, and this afternoon I will tell you about the differences between the two. And then I was very happy to apply for a location and a job, a position in which they ask you what you want to do. So I think that was amazing at the time. You could just write down a research program of what you want to do. And then there was the creation of the Titan project team, a spin-off of Geometrica that was encouraged by Jean-Daniel. and we collaborated on meshes and on topics that I will explain this afternoon. And we have also complementary activities with Jean-Daniel, because as you may know, Jean-Daniel plays the flute, and I'm a big fan of the clarinet instrument, so we used to play together music, and this is very pleasant activity.
Good morning. I'm Frédéric Chazal. So I met Jean-Daniel a little bit differently than Frédéric and Pierre. So I met him, I think it was in 2002, but I'm not completely sure about the date. But it was in Lyon. At that time, I was doing pure mathematics, and I was attending a school. And in this school, there was Jean-Daniel and Olivier de Villers, who were giving a talk on computational geometry. And this was a revelation. And I remember very well the beginning of our interaction. Jean-Daniel asked me a question about the length of the medial axis of surfaces in R3. And this has been the beginning of many things that happened during the next 17 or 18 years. So we started to discuss with Jean-Daniel, and also with many people from Geometrica, because Jean-Daniel was really nice, and he quickly introduced me to the... I don't remember, it was already Geometrica. Maybe it was still Prism. Anyway, I met all the team. I started to work with Frédéric and with David Cohensteiner and some other people from the team. And we really started to do some really nice things. So we had a lot of projects and a lot of collaboration with Jean-Daniel. And maybe a second important date in, let's say, our common story with Jean-Daniel is 2006. When I remember Jean-Daniel called me one day and he told me there is a new Inria. So I was still in Dijon, in a pure maths lab, and he called me and he told me there is a new research center which has recently Inria Research Center, which has recently opened in Saclay. I didn't even know where Saclay was, near from Paris. Would you be interested in going there to try to start some activities around computational geometry and open some kind of antenna of Geometrica? So I remember very well, I said, okay, let's see. So I bought a train ticket, and I think he was an accomplice, who was Claude Puech. So I went to meet Claude Puech in Saclay. And I remember that day because it's a long trip from Paris. You have to take the ugly RER. And when you arrive, I arrived in Saclay, it was raining, as usual in Saclay. And at that time, when you were arriving in Saclay, there was only cornfields and just a few buildings in the middle of nowhere with a small tag written Inria Future. And then I met Claude Puech in this strange place. And I don't know how he succeeded to do it, but it convinced me to come there for 1 year to try to start some activities around computational geometry in Saclay. And the result is that I'm still in Saclay. There is no longer cornfields, but anyway, so it was the beginning of a very nice adventure that resulted in 2017 in the official creation of a new team, or after the end of Geometrica, which is Data Shape. And I'm very proud and honored to have the chance to lead this team. And to finish, I just want to mention two. So I cannot tell all the nice project and collaboration we have with Jean-Daniel, national project, European project, etc. But I just want to mention two that are, I think, I really like and I remember very well. The first one is that I had the chance to write a book with Mariette and Jean-Daniel. And this is a real experience, an adventure. Because maybe later I can tell you about the meeting we have when Jean-Daniel and Mariette start to discuss things like how we should denote the spheres. And I'm not sure that the debate is completely closed. But anyway, we had a lot of fun writing this book. It took us something like almost 10 years. But this is a really nice book, so I encourage you to have a look at this book. And another one is a less scientific one, also an adventure we had with Jean-Daniel. Like it was, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, we organized a workshop in Porquerolles. And we decided to go to Porquerolles by boat, sailing, from Montpellier, from La Grande Motte, near from Montpellier, where I have a boat. So we went to this workshop. So it was very nice when we went to Porquerolles, but to come back, we had Mistral. I don't know if everybody knows the Mistral wind coming from the west, northwest, and we had to go to northwest. And it was blowing like 30 knots, headwind. And coming back from Porquerolles to Montpellier was also an interesting adventure. And that's it.
Good morning. It is a privilege for me and a great pleasure to address this audience that celebrates the lifetime achievement of my dear friend and colleague, Jean-Daniel Boissonneau. And I'm also very pleased to see again a lot of people with whom I've shared experiences over the past years, and that's also a very important event. I met Jean-Daniel in 1987. That was the time when Claude Puech m'avait invité had invited me as visiting professor at the École Normale. And that was also the time when Mariette had chosen to work with me rather than with a rather famous French mathematician. And that was a real important event for me. And Jean-Daniel at that time was visiting the École Normale on a more or less regular basis. Every week, I think he was teaching a course. And we got together and we started at that time very interesting collaboration. Those were the years, if you recall, when there was a rather young, enthusiastic community contributing very heavily to computational geometry, and aided greatly by the very generous model of the real number random access machine. And that was also the time when some of us recognized that correct programs were sometimes leading to crashing computational. Correct algorithms were leading to crashing computational programs. And that was a deficiency that several members of this audience had corrected over the years. And I'm very pleased that that happened. That was also the time when the strange term computational geometry that was kind of rejected by the French mathematicians was converted into algorithmic geometry, which I think is a much more appropriate way of describing it. The first problem that Jean-Daniel and I worked on was stimulated by an intriguing result by Chavir on the superlinear complexity of the contour of a collection of segments in the plane. We were intrigued by the superlinear result, and we looked at it, and then later on we found that if all the segments were intersected by a line, the complexity was linear. And we shared the elation of some results in a very moving way. Our collaboration continued over the years, and I'm not mentioning the topics as the discipline was evolving on both sides of the ocean. And that collaboration slowly and definitely morphed into a sincere friendship. Of Jean-Daniel, I not only admired the brilliant mind and the profound knowledge, mathematical knowledge, but also his vast cultural horizons, his love for arts, his appreciation of music, and his ability as a flutist. Jean-Daniel, it's a true pleasure to be here today with you.